We all know that technology plays a pivotal role in how law firms differentiate themselves in the marketplace. Today we have the honor of welcoming two leaders who are using technology to stay ahead of the curve in their respective firms. Very, very delighted to welcome Alison, Chief Marketing and Business Development Officer at Fragomen, and Luke Ferrandino, Chief Marketing Officer at Weiss. Alison brings over 20 years of experience and drives Fragomen's global growth, branding, and client relation initiatives, and comes with deep expertise from major international law firms and global organizations. Luke leads Weiss's business development and marketing strategies, focusing on client retention, communications, and brand awareness, bringing extensive experience from firms like Sherman & Sterling and Fried Frank. Now, there's a man that needs no introduction. I think a lot of you know him here. The man, the mustache, the moderator.
It's the best mustache in the legal marketing industry.
Eugene, I will hand this over to you.
And that's everything for today, folks. Get home safe. Is everyone having a good day? Everyone good? I was tepid at best, honestly. Thank you all for coming back after lunch. I understand the food was good, and sometimes we can all slip off for a little nap, or that's what I choose to do. So thank you for joining us. I'm really excited to bring this discussion together because I actually think it's pretty unique. And as a little bit of context, we asked Alison, we said, Alison, we've got this idea. We've got this big event, CMO Series Live, and we're going to do a big talk, and we're going to talk about technology, and you obviously know a thing or two. And she said, I'll do it, but you have to get Luke involved as well.
Oh, really?
Yes.
So nice.
So that may be a good thing, it may be a bad thing. You can cast your vote at the end of today. But actually, we've got two fabulous people in front of us with two very, very different challenges at their hands, but both using technology in very innovative ways. And I'm really excited to bring it to life today. And one of the things that's most interesting is that both Alison and Luke obviously worked together at Weiss, then Luke ended up at Fried Frank, then Alison moved to Covington, and then Alison started at Fragomen in 2017, and Luke started at Weiss again in August 2018. And you have two very, very different challenges on your hand, but you both make use of technology, and it's really core to everything you do. So to set the scene, could you both tell me a little bit about your firms? Because Alison, you're in what we could say is a non-traditional firm, and Luke, you're in a very much a traditional firm. Could you tell us about the firms you're in, the challenges you're facing, and start to explain a little bit about the role of technology in each of your firms? Alison, we'll kick off with you.
Sure, thank you, and it's so great to see everyone. This is wonderful, and thank you for having me. Can everybody hear me all right? Good. So Fragomen is an AmLaw 100 firm. We're a billion-dollar law firm. I think if you've worked overseas, you tend to know us, or you're in the space, you know us. But not everyone knows us, and so I just wanted to give the context of Fragomen. We focus on immigration law and various adjacent services. But that's what we do. There's obviously differences within immigration. We have government strategies and private client and litigation, but it's all over the umbrella of, or under the umbrella of immigration. And to your point, we're a non-traditional firm in the sense that we are using technology. It's part and parcel of what we do. It's a part of our offering. So any RFP we do, and we do about 350 to 400 a year, plus all the proposals, everything has technology within it because we're helping big companies, small companies, individuals manage their immigration and manage their processes. And so technology helps them stay compliant, get ahead of the curve, do things more efficiently. And so we're using AI in what we do, and we're looking at ways to use it in a predictive manner, generative AI. It's all part of what we do, but the firm itself is not your traditional firm, where it's part of our offering when we go to market, and we're also using it, I think, in a more aggressive way. We have a dedicated group looking at this at the firm. There's a lot of heavy investment in my team, in digital marketing and other marketing technologies. So it's an exciting place to be, and it's a very exciting time right now.
And one of the core things, I'm going to come on to Luke in just a minute, but one of the core things, and Deb, you're going to love this, is everything Luke and Alison said, this comes back to revenue. And it comes in different ways. Some of it might be digital first driving revenue, and some may be business development, core, traditional methods.
Yeah, which is our strategy. So Weiss is a very different firm in a lot of ways from Fragomen. We have hundreds of different practice areas. The firm really established its brand in the litigation space, but over the past decade or so really has grown in the transactional world, largely through acquisitions of very well-known partners with big books of business. Our investments in technology primarily focus on the sales support side. So we look for tools that help us accomplish three things, right? So help us understand our capabilities better, help us extract those capabilities in an easier way, help us understand the scale of our relationships with clients, prospects, and other relationships, and what their needs and goals are, and technology that helps support a process to align those two things. So the capabilities with the goals. That is the lion's share of where our technology spend goes into. Other things in the world of visibility, like digital marketing, and not a particular strong suit for Paul Weiss. You're not going to see us with banner ads in the American Lawyer up until recently, which is a new development for us. But really heavily sales focused. My team is divided into several functions. My business development function, which is focused on practice support, direct client support, and key account management, is half of our team, about 50 people. So it just gives you a sense of kind of where our focus is.
The saying goes, people, process, and technology. And I actually want to dive in, before we get into a few specific examples, I want you both to talk about almost setting the table. How do you get your team fit, ready to play, ready to engage with these technologies? How do you hire them? How do you build that? How do you protect them? Because as you said, I remember Luke, you once said to me, my job is I'm the umbrella. I protect my team from all the rain coming down, and then I help them rise as well.
Yes.
So we'll kick off with you. Talk to me about that culture of experimentation, curiosity.
Yeah, sure. So, when I think about our philosophy around really everything, but it impacts certainly our approach around technology is we really promote a culture of experimentation within our team. Of course, I'm driving the technology strategy with my MarTech team and with my direct reports, but it's so much better if everyone on the team feels empowered to raise their hand, to kick the tires on different approaches, and feels confident enough to elevate approaches that can improve their day-to-day. So we communicate that to our team. We really promote that mentality across our department. I specifically hire for curious people. People who have worked with me know that I love curious people. So it's really become part of our culture. With that, we pilot as much as we can, right? So that's really important to us to be able to evaluate a product. Many technology vendors allow you to do that. I think some firms kind of go into that, do the 2 weeks, and kind of hope for the best. Like we're pretty methodical about how we run that. We make sure, number one, we have bandwidth to focus on a pilot. Oftentimes, I've worked in many places and have seen this play out. You'll run a 2-week pilot, and then nobody actually plays with the tool. So you kind of come out of it with like no sense for whether it's something that can contribute to the bottom line or not. So, just being kind of methodical about that approach and having kind of that mentality across our department, I think it's really how we evolve as a department, right, and as an industry.
Yeah. Alison, I want to come on to you and ask the same question, but just so everyone make sure you're seated will you hear this. Alison has a team of 55 people. They have 60 plus offices. You've opened 17 offices since you joined, and they offer support in 170 countries. A, how do you do it? B, how do you sleep at night? And C, how do you use technology to help that process?
I don't really sleep at night, which I'm trying to get better at.
I've known you long enough to know that about you, yeah.
Because there's a lot of information out there that sleep is critical, so I'm trying to get better at that. But with 4 kids, young kids, and work, it doesn't always happen. But no, it's having a great team, having a great culture, and doing things smartly. Like, I'm very excited about technology and AI, and we're going to talk more as we go through this discussion about what's ahead and how we're using it and what we're doing now and what we're doing as we go forward. And it's making things more efficient. It's making things smarter. I talked about our culture being very innovative. Technology's in our DNA. I mentioned how we use it as part of our sales process. That all said, it's still when I have to go and say I want to do pay-per-click advertising or convince leadership about hiring more marketing tech folks on my team and focusing on SEO or other areas, I still have to help them understand that and why that's valuable and why that's going to impact the bottom line. And so it's a lot of and I offer this as guidance for those who are maybe not doing it as much or embarking on it. It's getting to the top leaders and helping them understand that value and laying it out in a very clear way and talking about the guardrails and the precautions too, because at the end of the day, we are a law firm. So that partnership with OGC, that guidance that you want to make certain that you have, that you do things correctly. We're also very focused on our clients, and everything is very collaborative with our clients. So when I think of something that needs to be done and I put it forward as a recommendation, having a client backing or a client business case to help support the idea really helps. We have a client technology advisory board at the firm. So there are 15 of our top clients on that board, and we're talking with them about different technologies, different ways of driving new machine learning, new ideas, and is it going to work, and getting that feedback. I also oversee our client feedback program, so I'm interviewing clients, and others on my team are doing that regularly, and getting that feedback of, is this working? What else are you looking for? Again, all with it, helping them be smarter, more efficient, more productive, and compliant with their immigration programs. So, we've got some of the biggest companies. We represent, I think, 67 of the Fortune 100. 1,000 people need to go from Africa to Guyana. Oil is discovered there. How do you do that quickly and get them there compliantly and make sure they have the right paperwork and passports and everything? So all of that technology and just driving how that's going to be able to help them do it in a way that's better and smarter.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned something interesting there, and I wanted to swing back to you, Luke. Could you tell us a little bit about your approach to business development and how different teams, like the Sparks program, for example, are leveraging technology and you're empowering them with those tools?
Yep. So in 2020, in the middle of the pandemic, we launched a lead generation apparatus, dedicated lead generation apparatus within our team. We started with one person. We gave them a Bloomberg terminal and access to a range of different research tools. Very, very expensive. But we had sponsorship from one of the largest revenue generators in the firm, which was, going back to Alison's point about building trust and kind of getting leadership on board. And the conversation we just heard from the COOs about kind of getting these things over the finish line. Having that sponsor was so important. And what this person does is they sit in front of these research tools. They go into dark chat rooms all day. They understand, because they have a close relationship and understand how this revenue generating partner, like how he gets hired, why he gets hired for work, what clients would think of as differentiators over his competitors, deep into his relationship network. Like, she learned what to look for, and she learned what the triggers could be. Ideally to get hired for matters, but the day-to-day goal is sparks. We call them sparks. They're these things that help you inch along the sales process with your contacts to keep them warm. So it could be simple things like a CEO was at a conference and said, "Hey, we're looking to do acquisitions in XYZ industry." Hey, maybe that's an opportunity for a conversation. It could be more sophisticated approaches like tracking the debt maturities, of a company and fluctuations in stock prices and things like that. That approach proved to be so successful that we now have a team of almost 15 people. All of them have Bloomberg terminals. Those are expensive, but we proved the business case that this is something that can be added directly to the bottom line. Going back to what I said before, we are so bottom line oriented, and my team is so revenue generation focused that once we proved the business case with this person, it was actually relatively easy to expand over the past few years. So.
To be fair, the focus is working. Paul Weiss have just passed the $2 billion mark, so I think it is working.
That's all because of me, by the way.
Yeah. 10% commission, yeah.
I'm waiting for my commission check. Yeah, they told me it's in the mail.
I want to come back in a minute to reporting and how you report on the success of technology and these big investments. Mm-hmm. But Alison, you actually had a very interesting story talking about a cause close to my heart, Irish passports and citizenship.
Yes.
I'm Irish, in case you didn't know.
Yeah. So we wanted to do pay-per-click advertising, Google ads and LinkedIn ads, and I would say there wasn't a really solid understanding of why that was important. And so, as we've been talking about going to leadership, and this was, I guess, about a year and a half ago, we went and we said, let's pilot it. And so, it's a great way to sort of target a specific demographic in a particular geography, for example. So for our pilot, we did an Irish citizenry campaign where you can get citizenship if your parents or grandparents are from Ireland, even if you're not there. And so we put together this program, and it was so successful that let me back up a moment. It's about generating leads. So getting into the website, quality leads that we can then convert to real opportunities and hopefully to new clients. And we had such an overwhelming volume within the first week. The great thing is you can track these metrics, these are KPIs, and you show that data to your teams, to your leaders, and it just reinforces what you want to do. But we had such success with it that we had to turn it off and pause because we didn't have the people ready to support the volume that was generated. So that was a good lesson learned.
It's a good problem to have.
It was a great problem
in the realm
to
of
have.
problems, it's
Yes.
a pretty good one to have.
Yeah.
Too many opportunities.
Yeah. And then we also, just another word of caution in the spirit of giving advice as you may be doing this yourselves, we made certain to understand the rules and the regulations, and there are a lot. I mean, we all know about GDPR and New York advertising laws, but remembering at the heart of it that we are lawyers, that Google has rules, you don't want to violate them, you don't want to get blacklisted. For us, like in this particular campaign, we couldn't use the word passport or visa because people can do that themselves, and there are rules against looking like you're selling government services. So we had to get around that. We had to monitor that very carefully. We want to make certain that everything we do is quality and compliant and will lead to that revenue that we're talking about is really key to what we do.
I think it's quite a nice feeder into, I'd love to spend just a few minutes. I know a lot of you are really interested in the nitty gritty of what are they doing, pulling back the curtain. Luke, I'll come to you next. You've mentioned your Sparks program, you've mentioned Bloomberg terminals. Could you give the folks here, as much as possible, a little bit of an overview of how you're using technology at sort of a firm level, BD level, broadcasting the brand, and just a couple of the tools, tricks, things that are working well for you right now?
Yeah, like I said, so we're very focused on tools that support the sales cycle, right? So our core systems are our experience platform, our CRM, and our activities database. Two of those systems had been built proprietarily within the firm on Lotus Notes databases, which are kind of old. Kelly McKinnon knows what I'm talking about.
I do too.
Alison knows exactly what I'm talking about. So one of our strengths has been for a long time. Like we are excellent at data collection. We have processes. I mean, you remember the battle scars from those wars of trying to get people to do what we needed them to do to get the information in those systems. But over time, it became wildly successful. There's a ton of buy-in throughout the firm. Partners bought into it. Their administrative assistants bought into it. Our team obviously was bought into it. So the data quality in each one of those core systems is actually very, very good, or as good as you can hope for in this industry. So our challenge has been like how do you really harness that, considering they're kind of built on antiquated platforms that are inflexible and don't share information across each other. So when I came back to Paul Weiss 6 years ago, I kind of knew this going into the position. So we embarked on a roadmap that was supposed to be 5 years. So I'm in year 6 now, so we're a little bit behind. Just transitioning to more sophisticated platforms. We were going to start with CRM, but we had a hiccup there. But we moved over to Experience and just launched Foundation 3 months ago. Wildly successful project for our team. Foundation was great to work with. They helped us make some modifications to their system. Like the way they think about Experience is the same way that we do, which is a pretty sophisticated, I think, approach to it. They had thought through all the challenges and issues that we had been discussing through our experience over 12 years of having a system that was basically working for us. Mm-hmm. Allowed us to make modifications so we can keep our core collection processes, which are hugely important to us. Like my mission number one is don't break something that's working. This was working pretty well. We thought we could enhance it, but I did not want to break what was working for us. So we were able to do that. The process went relatively smoothly, or as smoothly as you can expect those integration projects to go. But one of the smart things I think we did was we started training the team very early on before adoption. So like months before we launched. And we kept the team aware of kind of where we were in the project throughout. So all of the high-end users were pretty much trained like 2 months before the project was ready to launch. So by the time we did launch, And I was concerned about adoption, right? Because we had an existing platform. It was pretty much adopted like right away. I mean, they knew how to use it. They understood the functionality. I monitor and track everything, so I was tracking all the usage. We kept the old system up for a little while in parallel, just to make sure nothing was going to break on us. But the transition happened pretty seamlessly. So a very good experience.
Alison, I'm going to come to you in a second, but Luke, sorry to be annoying. Not everything was plain sailing.
Never annoying, Eugene. Please, come on.
It wasn't all plain sailing, and I think it's quite interesting. Could you please share with the folks here your experience with CRM, your prioritization of CRM experience management?
Yeah. So you want me to talk about like a failure situation? I know what you're doing. All right. It's not really a failure. It's more of a lesson learned. We talked about in the prep. He was like, talk about something you screwed up. I was like, there's so many to choose from, but all right. So like I said, when I came back to Paul Weiss, technology was a huge focus for me. I knew we had a great collection processes, and we just couldn't harness that information. So CRM was the first choice. We wanted to pivot from the existing platform to a more sophisticated CRM platform. It aligned with our business goals, right? Supporting the sales process in a different way. Our existing system was fine. It was, it's a repository of contact information, and the data is actually very good. Like we've gotten the data in a very good place in that system. So again, I didn't want to break what was working. So we embarked on a RFP process. We ended up deciding to move forward with a particular vendor, and we were very clear with our set of criteria at the beginning of that project. One, which was I wanted to run the old system and the new system in parallel for a short period of time, just to make sure that if something broke, it wouldn't be a complete disaster.
Smart.
They kind of committed to it during the sales process, but when we got to the point of like putting that language in a contract, they couldn't do it, and I wasted a year of time kind of going through that process. So lesson for me: get it in writing early. But in the end, what could have been a pretty bad black eye for me my first year, into this position, because we're so collaborative and communicative throughout the project. Like I was talking to leadership and the key stakeholders throughout the project. They were well aware of the issues. I think it actually looked good for us that we, saw the risk and decided not to plow forward with something that carried, a level of risk that we just weren't comfortable with. So especially given the cost of those platforms, it was definitely the right call, but just a very, very tough pill to swallow.
I think it was Nicole Petrie this morning who said, if you're not failing, you're not innovating.
Yeah,
and it's
I'm
again,
feeling all the time, man.
you and me both, Luke. But again, you've built that trust, the culture, you've earned that credibility.
It's hugely important. I mean, I think that's one of the most important things. I mean, we talked about this a little bit in the prep session, but that relationship with your key stakeholders internally is just so critical, and it sets you up not just for that one particular technology deployment that you're working on, but just positions you to take on that next project and really kind of help your department evolve. If you mess that up, you only get so many strikeouts with your leadership. If they don't trust you, if they feel like they're out of the loop, if they feel like you're not taking the proper steps to evaluate a tool or to deploy it, those purse strings kind of run pretty short at that point. So
important too, so that you're building, like they see that you've got leadership involved and supportive. That's going to filter down, and you need to get the whole firm in. I mean, where the world is and where the world continues to go, you'll get left behind if you're not behind all of this.
Yeah, I mean, look, and there's plenty of opportunity in this business for evolution, right? I mean, I think there's been a lot of change the past, maybe 5 or 10 years, and departments like ours have grown like pretty exponentially in the past few years. I mean, we had 33 when I came back after I was at Fried Frank, and we're pushing 100 right now. There's been a huge investment by our firms in us, right? Yeah. So it's our job to evolve and kind of help the firm realize the return on that investment.
I want to come on to that topic in just a second, but Alison, I want to swing back to you. We mentioned the Irish citizenship and your success there. Were there any other sort of big successes or projects or key landmark ideas which you've implemented? Obviously bringing in that big technology approach, which you'd like to share with the folks?
Well, I'd say CRM is also really critical, and the lead generation process, because that's such a great way to get new business. I mean, we obviously still do a lot of the traditional pitching, going to market, conferences, and other very sophisticated targeting methods. But when you have this pipeline coming through, you use your SEO smartly. We've done a lot to get very smart with our SEO and local SEO, backlinking, everything to make sure that we're there and getting those quality leads I was talking about. And then getting them into the CRM and getting them so that we can then turn them over to become actual opportunities. What we're doing now is looking at ways that AI can help. And that's what I'm most excited about, because now we get a lead, a company reaches out and says, I'd like to get information on X or this country, that country. But if we can get some of that work being done by AI so that then it gets faster to us and we can turn it over more quickly, that's just revenue right to the bottom line. So that's really exciting. And then, the other exciting thing about what we're doing with AI is just using it to make our processes on our team more efficient so that we can go and do the higher level, more sophisticated, more interesting work. So I'll give you a couple of examples. I mentioned earlier, numerous RFPs, and they're always very complex and requiring a lot of input and team time. If we can use AI, so our proposal generator software is Lupio, and we're looking at ways to have AI generate those first drafts so that, again, we bring in that higher level, but it's like that early work is done for you. Same thing with my events team. So they're using it, we get these big booths at these major conferences and symposiums. They give the dimensions, and AI can like put it all together for you, and then you can then spend the time on other things that, a lot of that busy work and administrative work, it's just done much more quickly. And those are hours back to your day. Our PR department, my head of PR, I was just having drinks with her last night. She's telling me, we're opening a new office in the Middle East. And so she said, sometimes coming up with the quotes for our chairman on what they're saying in our press releases. So giving very specific parameters, write me a press release of opening in this particular country in the Middle East, what's happening there, bring that in context, and give me a good quote for one of our co-chairs. And it's perfect, right? It still needs her attention, her skill, but then she can be out there doing other things. And so all of that efficiency-driven efforts, our website, you mentioned we're in 65 different countries. So you can imagine the language translation, and we're trying to get that. So using AI to help with that effort as well. So it's just the possibilities are endless in terms of the efficiency and helping clients and helping us, and then in the lead generation and driving business.
I want to come on to any failures which you've had, because I just want to even the playing field.
Want to do another failure?
No. Everyone's going to share one big failure. But actually, a question just stemming off that. Are either of your firms, and are you and your teams looking to develop your own in-house solution, or will you always keep reaching out to specialist third-party suppliers? For example, we had Gunderson Detmer earlier today who've created their own AI product.
You're seeing that. You're seeing more of that across. So we do both, right? So we have a large internal team. Our knowledge management innovation team is involved. Our information systems team, which is our IT team, is involved. So I'm close with the leaders of both of those functions. We talk all the time. I think there's 3 separate task force on AI and technology and innovation within our firm. We have our own within our department, but it's great. I mean, there are limitations, right? People get busy. Those departments are just as busy. Maybe not as busy as me, but almost as busy as I am. So you kind of have to maximize like the bandwidth that people have. There are a lot of companies out there now that specialize in AI development tools and bespoke tools that they can develop for you. Look, I think it's good to kick the tires with them. I mean, there's kind of a range of experiences, and I think some places are kind of marketing themselves as AI, but they're not really AI when you kind of pull like the veneer off the
big room full of people.
It just sounds cool. But like I said, like going back to experimentation, just it's good to have conversations and good to kind of understand what the possibilities are. It's good to get a broad range of perspectives on those, on those types of tools. I mean, we're doing similar things around AI. We have the firm has a relationship with Harvey. I got licenses for pretty much my entire department to play with. We trained everyone how to use them. put guardrails around it so they understand the limitations and the risks. But I was like, look, go play with this. go figure out where it's going to help you. Obviously, on the content side, it's been like a huge boon for us, and it's been like a superpower, just freeing up my PR and my content teams. But it's coming into play all across our department. Idea generation across the team, thought leadership, lead generation. We're finding ways to use it. We have a team of people across functions that get together every 2 weeks and just talk about their use cases for those, for that 2-week period. And there's a lot of them. I mean, across functions, right? So, and there's also situations where we're learning that it's not helpful, and it would actually take you longer so that's just as important to know, right? Yeah. So, I just think it's so critical right now for firms to get in that universe. If you're not in there, hopefully everyone here is at least dipping their toes in the water. It's such a competitive advantage, and if you're not there, like you can't scale as well as other firms. Your team is going to be tied up doing administrative things they just don't need to do. So
can everyone put their hand? Oh, sorry.
I was just going to say, go ahead.
I was going to say, can you put your hand up if or in your firm you're experimenting with something with AI or building or? Wow, basically everyone.
I was just going to say, for us, it's the same thing. So we opened an innovation technology lab, I think it's 6 years ago now. I've been at the firm 7 years. But right shortly after I joined, we opened that up and really started looking at a whole bunch of new things. It's so into our DNA now, and we just had our annual partners conference with a whole day on all sorts of technology and AI, and transformation was the theme. We're doing workshops. We're going and some of it is in-house and some of it is partnering with leaders in the space. And I think you really do need both, because you don't know what you don't know sometimes, and it's recognizing that and benefiting from the expertise of others, but also knowing yourself and then driving your own efforts.
I want to come on in a second just to what you see is coming down the pipeline for the legal profession, your roles and technology. But before I do that, I just wanted to swing back to something which you said earlier, Luke, about our team has tripled in size since I joined. Can you talk a little bit about reporting on the success? You're very sales driven.
Yeah.
How do you do that? What are both of your processes for showing ROI on yourselves, your team, the technology, and so on?
Yep. So, we've tripled in size in 6 years. One of the reasons why I went back to Paul Weiss from Fried Frank is because of there is such an embedded business development culture there, and I knew that if we could demonstrate progress, the firm would invest. Like it's a very successful, profitable firm. I had lots of ideas of things I wanted to do, like mad scientist kind of approaches, and I knew it was a place that would kind of sponsor crazy ideas. Since my time at Fried Frank, I just think it's so important to manage up and to not just make your team aware of what's going on across the department, but also communicate with leadership on a regular basis. So for years, I've been writing an email every Sunday. This goes back to my Fried Frank time. Every Sunday, summarizing all the projects that we're working on across the team, what we're thinking in terms of innovation, technology, where we are in certain deployments, what our pitches look like, how we got hired, why we got hired, really anything across functions. That's written kind of casually, but Eugene wanted me to show an example, but it's like filled with confidential information, so it would be just one big blackout if I put it up on the screen. But I send it every Sunday as a way to kind of, initially it was a thing to keep my team aware of what was going on and to call out good behavior to inspire them. But I started sharing a version of it with leadership shortly after I started it, and I send it to about 40 partners in firm leadership. So every week they're getting a report from me on exactly what our team is focused on, right? So it encourages conversation. I'll get phone calls sometimes from partners saying, hey, I noticed this in your report. Like, what are you guys thinking there? It's just a really good way to kind of keep leadership and the people that, the key stakeholders in your firm kind of aware of what you're up to. And, it's helped kind of help us focus in the right places. I'm also just a super crazy data metrics person, and we report on everything in my department. You guys may do this too. But we have monthly, quarterly reports on everything from pitches, our digital marketing channels, awards recognition, our alumni engagement, our key account management programs, like deep dive analytical, tied back to KPIs reports. So that also gets shared with my full team. Like there's full transparency about everything that we're doing. And that also gets shared with that same leadership group. So, I think that's important to be honest about where you are. Sometimes these things, the projects we're working on are working out great and they're successful. Sometimes not so much. So you have to, I think being honest about where you're at and being honest about recalibrating projects that you're working on is just an important way to gain buy-in and trust with your firm. And I think that's partly why they've continued to invest in our department.
When I joined Fragomen 7 years ago, business development, marketing, and communications were 3 separate functions. So they all came together under my leadership. And we were small and lean, and I still think we are for a firm of our size and stature. We're the leader in our space. But I always have told my team, and I have this fantastic group of people, and I brought people in with whom I've worked, Freshfields in the Middle East, and Clifford Chance back in the day, and someone from Paul Weiss I stole away from Luke. So
I wasn't there yet.
You weren't there
no,
yet.
It was my gap year.
That might have been a battle.
It was my gap year.
But as I've built up the team, I've really had the mantra of it's better to punch above your weight, and for the partners and the others at the firm to see that we need, or to start saying you need more people, than to ask for it all up front, and then people, you haven't built up that credibility and that trust yet. So that's the way we've done it. So we're now at 55, and we're about to bring on about 15 more people. So I've seen that growth. I also know, because we've invested so heavily in technology, when I look at my C-suite counterparts for a long time, I understood why they got more of the share of the budget. However, now, with what we're doing, and again, these use cases, and all about metrics, all about dashboards, and putting that information in front of them so they see the results and they see it regularly, having regular calls, regular meetings, regular weekly emails and information, so that they're like, yeah, Alison's team needs more people. And so that growth it becomes a natural thing when the work speaks for itself. Yeah.
Conscious of time, and I wanted to ask again, slightly annoying question, of course. Technology is obviously, it's a bit of a truism. Technology is changing everyone's daily lives, but it's very much changing your profession. And when we had one of our prep calls, one of you said something interesting. We work in a business which is very much built on a pyramid, and that's going to change, and AI technology is going to help that change, and we can be a real part of that. Could you please just expand on that and talk about, what do you see happening now, the next 18 months, and longer term?
Yeah. Do you want to go? Do you want me to
Yeah, I mean, people have to embrace it. And I know that there are concerns about, will it replace my job? It's changing people's jobs. And like anything, remember years ago, Who Moved My Cheese, about change? Like, change is a little scary, but it's also really exciting in its perspective. And so if you can look at it in a way of, this is going to improve my job. And some of the examples I talked about earlier, it makes your job easier. Like, I think about the more senior you get, right? You don't have to do the first drafts of things. You don't have to do the pitch. Things come to you and you review and you sign off. You basically have people working for you with AI in a sense. You can use it to say, create this draft for me. You have to be careful, of course. And we talked about precautions. We talked about being mindful of regulations, partnering with your OGC. But it can really help what you're doing and make your function smarter and help drive those dollars, those revenues. So I think that spirit of curiosity, that spirit of getting people on board and bringing people along, because it's not really a question of whether or not you can do it, it's happening. So if you're not going to embrace it, I think you'll be left behind. And I think really getting your teams to embrace that spirit, bring the teams along, the partners, the associates, the other professionals across the firm, and then bringing that power to market. And again, I say partnering with your clients, because your clients are doing it, looking at what they're doing, letting things be client-led, and figuring out ways together to take these things forward. It's very exciting in my view.
No, I completely agree with all that. Look, I just see a huge opportunity for our industry here. I mean, we've all talked about for years, like, how crazy busy we are, the volume of work. We can never keep pace with it. Our responsibilities keep growing and growing and growing. Like this is a superpower. This is something that we can use to help make all the administrative things that we do much easier. So yeah, I've heard the concerns about this is going to take our jobs. Like there's plenty of work. There's plenty of work out there to do. And the amount of time when I think about like my job and what I do on a day-to-day basis, it's similar to what some of the COO said when they were up here. There's a range of things from like very strategic high-level things down to like reviewing an invitation list, right? I mean, it can get pretty basic for all of us sometimes. You know, having these tools, it alleviates stuff on all of our plates from the top to the bottom of the organization. It's going to radically change the industry. I mean, outside of marketing and BD, that pyramid model is going to, for the leverage model for law firms, that pyramid model is going to look like, I think it's a trapezoid. My geometry is terrible, but it's like, more like a rectangle kind of, So like less junior associates. Like how does that impact all of us? Like I don't think anybody knows what the future is going to look like. This is probably 3 to 5 years down the line. It's starting to happen right now. So, the more that we are familiar in like the language of this new technology, and more people on our teams are aware of it. Like I said before, it's an opportunity for us to deliver on the promise of the investments that our firms have made in all of us and in all of our teams.
That seems like a nice point to pause. Does anyone have any questions for our fantastic panelists? Yes, ma'am.
I have 2 questions. The first of which is you can't say getting in playing in chat rooms on the dark web and not tell us what they're doing there.
I am not going to go into specifics about what they're doing. I am sorry. So
wait. That was only the first question.
That's proprietary.
And then the second is that we're insanely jealous that you have great data. And I had heard, I'm really old, and so I heard historically that at Paul Weiss, they used to take associates and they would take a break from practicing and they would go into knowledge management and help to create that data infrastructure that you have. Well then, what is it that you guys have done to create that great data?
So part of it came from the expectation of the lawyers, right? So Alison was with Paul Weiss at the time when the system that we had was just being built, and it was like chaos. And we got to a point where it just was not going to be tolerated anymore. So we had ambassadors at the top of the firm saying, we have to get this right. The lawyers did not do a thing. I mean, for the experience platform, they don't do much, because the way the partners think about the business is different from an associate working on a deal or on a matter. So like that responsibility to code those taxonomies is on my team. So we had to build a whole apparatus around it. That meant regular check-ins with the lawyers, being more proactive with them about what's happening with their matters. On the corporate side, you have things like league tables that help kind of set external deadlines around those submissions. So like really heavily leveraging those deadlines to help make sure that we got the information in. Like on the transactional side, we get damn near 100% of marketable information because of that. But we have a team of people dedicated. They're reviewed on this. They're in part paid on this because their bonuses are based on their performance reviews, which include a whole section on matter management is your job. Like that's what you have to do. And that's how the junior people on our team grow into other roles in our department. But it's blood, sweat, and tears. I mean, that's really what it is.
To be clear, I was not in charge when it was chaotic.
No. I didn't mean to suggest that. No. Alison helped fix it. That's what happened. Yeah.
But we also have a lot of data challenges. Just to empathize with you, when we were bringing in to our CRM, and we want that to be the center of truth for everything related to clients, we had this parent-children relationships with all of our clients where thousands of different names for the parent and then the children, and are they tied together? The Bank of New York, the Bank of New York, you name it. It was listed in different databases, 100 different ways. So really hiring the people to help us spend the time to get the data, because once you put it in, you hear garbage in, garbage out. We had to get it right from the start, and it's time consuming, but it's worth that effort up front.
I think we'll leave it there. Big round of applause, please, for our fantastic panelists.
Thank you.